Hi, my name is Mike, and I am a student at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I am backstage at the Tweeter Center right outside of Boston to interview Kevin Lyman, creator and producer of the Vans Warped Tour and a huge figure in the music industry. As a marketing major and Warped Tour fan, I can't wait to ask Kevin some questions about the music industry and learn about the defining moments in his career. Where'd you go to college and where'd you study in college?
I went to school at Cal Poly Pomona in Pomona, California, and my original major was communication arts, and then I switched over to recreation administration, which was probably the direction I was potentially going. I was always running summer camps, running youth programs.
So you kind of knew what you wanted to do when you were in college?
I know, not really. I mean, I wanted to run summer camps. I didn't know I'd be running this summer camp. I mean, this has been referred to as punk rock summer camp. Cal Poly didn't really have a fraternities and sororities, but the ski club was a big social club. And I organized a lot of the large ski trips, and I was on the ski team in college. And we started throwing bands. Bands from Los Angeles would come out and play at some of our parties. We were about an hour from Los Angeles, so it was an outlet for them.
So early on in your career, was there ever a time that you considered like doing something else, switching up?
Well, yeah, I would say that the time that I was actually thinking about going to do something was in 1995 when I said, let me go for one last summer, put together a skateboard ramp and a few friends' bands, and let's go do a tour how I would want to run my own tour.
Really?
So I guess that transition point to going and doing that was right when I started the Warped Tour.
So, you know, when you started the Warped Tour, how'd you really get it off the ground in terms of like funding, you know, finding sponsorships?
Well, it was kind of a wing and a prayer when we first did it.
Really?
I mean, it was planned to be on a one year thing. I've been working 12 years in the clubs by then and working on tours, other people's tours like Lollapalooza was probably the biggest known festival that I worked on. So I had a lot of experience, and I also had a lot of relationships that I worked up to 320 shows a year in Los Angeles. So I had helped those bands, and I think if it wasn't for those relationships, I wouldn't have got a second year on the tour.
So it really was a lot who you knew, kind of.
It was kind of like, you know, they knew I worked hard, and I still work hard to this day, but they didn't want you to fail. They wanted to give me a second chance. I mean, you know, if I'd maybe done this, and I've seen it happen a lot of times. People get impatient in their careers. People are more likely rather kick you down the stairs than help you up the stairs. So I got through that first year, and a lot of people were like, we get it now. We think it's really cool. And then when I decided like there would be, bands got involved second year, and bands like Pennywise and NoFX lent a little credibility on the artist side, we were able to get through the second year.
So what bands or artists, you know, can you think of that really bolstered by appearances on the Warped Tour?
Well, I mean, you can go back to 1995. We had artists like Sublime. We had No Doubt before they were big. The next year you can go into, you know, the Sugar Ray, Blink-182, Limp Bizkit, Kid Rock, Eminem, Good Charlotte, My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy.
So it's been a great launching pad for a lot of bands.
It is definitely a launching pad. I mean, we do get some credit and some respect for that, that this has been a place to showcase a lot of bands. Whereas this year, I think you're starting to see artists like Paramore, Boys Like Girls, that were going to be out of the clubs, and they'll be the big touring bands of the next year.
So what's the vibe like backstage, and how does it make it different than other festivals that tours that go on?
Original concept was, I used to think people used to hide out in their dressing rooms, and the hierarchy of who gets what in dressing rooms. I always thought that was very strange. The artists that were making the most money would be getting the nicest stuff in the dressing room, and the kids that were scraping by would get. So we kind of make it very equal. There's a lot more interaction amongst all levels. The biggest bands to the youngest traveling bands. You know, you never quite know who, and that's where that Warped Tour barbecue has become so famous that, you know, backstage, that's where everyone goes to hang out afterwards.
So what do you credit your success?
I don't break my pattern. Very rarely do I get sucked up into the politics of the business. Which is hard. A lot of people can't understand that. Do I feel really comfortable working with some of the people in the business, and some of the way that's how they do business? It's not how I do business. So I have to be very comfortable with doing that. And it seems like this year, for some reason, I feel very, you know, satisfied. I think it was good. Maybe you know, it was like going to the Rock. I didn't expect when the tour went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that it would affect me. It wasn't expected. It's not something I look forward to. But someone asked me, like, you know, now that you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, what do you do? I go, well, Monday I go back to work.
What advice would you give a college student, someone like myself, who wanted to start out something like this, some kind of entrepreneurship product?
For me, it's just do as much as you can while you're in school, because hopefully you're getting some support from someone. Either you can get a loan, you know, student loans, or your parents are still somewhat supportive. If you find a passion, do some of that. Being willing to do any job. I mean, I think some people, people go, I want to work, and I go, really just coming out and working on the Warped Tour the first time, it's really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people out here, unless, you know, if you're selling T-shirts out there, you're working really hard.
Yeah.
If you're an intern out here, you're working really hard. Go get some field experience. Try to figure out what you're doing.
So, what's the highlight or defining moment in your career up to this point?
Oh, up to this point, I don't know. You know, it's I like when I don't need it, but sometimes when a kid comes up and just says thanks, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I get a lot of that now. But defining moment, I mean, I know to this
Still think
moment,
it's coming, maybe?
it's gonna come at some point. Yeah.